Hey everyone, and welcome back. Get ready to plunge into a whole bunch of news with us today.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We've got a ton of sources to dig through, so buckle up. We're talking the Nation newspaper, Daily Post Nigeria,
Okay.
Daily Trust,
All right.
Punch newspapers,
Wow.
Vanguard News,
Uh-huh.
and to get a global perspective,
Okay.
we've
Yeah.
got Al Jazeera and AP News.
Sounds like a pretty comprehensive deep dive.
It really is. Are you ready to jump in?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right, let's start right here at home with Nigeria. The Ondo State governorship election is making headlines in the Nation newspaper, Daily Post, and a bunch of others.
You have election.
Huge. Over 1.7 million voters.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It is. And the main contenders are Lucky Aidatiwa from the APC
Okay.
and Agboola Ajayi from the PDP.
Got it.
Daily Post mentioned that there's some anxiety from voters.
No, about what?
Worries about vote buying and whether their votes will actually count.
Yeah, those are valid concerns in any election.
Definitely. And it looks like Elector is pushing for more female election and security personnel.
Interesting. What's their reasoning behind that?
They believe it would increase women's confidence in the whole process.
Makes sense. Representation and all that.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and look at the economic landscape.
Sure. What's happening there?
Well, the National Bureau of Statistics, or NBS for short, is reporting that Nigeria's inflation rate
Okay.
hit a whopping 33.88% in October 2024.
Wow, that's high. What's driving that?
Food prices, mainly.
Makes sense. Food is such a crucial part of everyone's budget.
Absolutely. On a slightly brighter note, though, the presidency announced that Nigeria's deepwater oil projects are doing incredibly well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're now in the top 3 globally for competitive returns.
That's impressive.
It is. But it also makes you think, right?
About what?
About how to turn that economic success into something that benefits all Nigerians.
Especially with that inflation we were just talking about.
Exactly. And speaking of navigating tricky economic situations, the Central Bank of Nigeria is stepping in to address cash hoarding and naira abuse by some banks.
That's interesting. Why now?
Well, Daily Trust is reporting that several states, like Kano, Kaduna, Plateau, and Niger, are all starting to use the new minimum wage.
So the CBN wants to ensure there's enough cash flow with this new wage structure in place.
Exactly. Okay, ready for something a little more intense?
Sure. Hit me with it.
Let's talk security and crime.
Always a hot topic.
It is. And we've got a pretty incredible story from Vanguard News this time.
Okay, what happened?
So there's this police team in Lagos,
Yeah.
and they caught an internet fraudster,
Okay.
red-handed, with
Mhm.
N174 million.
Wow.
I know, right? But here's the crazy part.
What?
The guy tried to bribe them with $100,000.
Seriously. And they
They refused.
get out of here.
It's true. Talk about integrity.
That's amazing to hear, especially with all the stories about corruption we hear.
It really is. But sadly, not all the news is so uplifting. Punch newspapers reported the murder of Chief Stephen Aniagu in Enugu State.
Oh no, who was he?
He was a prominent market leader.
And what happened?
A robbery gang.
Terrible.
It is. Governor Mba has promised to crack down on criminals and make Enugu a hostile place for them.
Well, hopefully that will bring some peace and security to the region.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
And in a separate incident, Daily Post reported that 3 soldiers were killed by gunmen in Abia State.
Oh, it's awful.
Governor Adi sent his condolences to the Chief of Army Staff.
It's a tough situation for everyone involved.
It really is. Okay, let's shift gears again to social issues. The World Health Organization, or WHO, is urging everyone to pay attention to the growing diabetes epidemic in Africa.
That's a serious issue.
They're saying if it's not addressed,
Yeah.
it could have devastating consequences for the entire continent, both health-wise and economically.
That's a scary thought.
It is. And then the Nation newspaper highlighted 2 court cases related to sexual assault. Laminu Ahmed was sentenced to life in prison for raping a 7-year-old girl.
Oh my goodness, that's just heartbreaking.
It really is. And in a separate case, Ismail Mustafa received a 14-year sentence for attempted sexual assault of an 11-year-old.
These stories are so tough to hear, but it's important that they're brought to light.
Absolutely. Now, before we move on to global news, I want to mention some good news from Vanguard News.
Okay, let's hear it.
YTNN, which stands for Women in Technology in Nigeria.
Okay.
They just won the Inspiring Women in Science Outreach Award.
That's fantastic.
It is such a great step for promoting women in tech.
For sure. It's inspiring to see organizations like that making a difference.
Absolutely. All right, ready to broaden our horizons and see what's happening beyond Nigeria?
Yeah, let's see what the rest of the world is up to.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit and look at what's happening internationally. AP News has the U.S. political scene buzzing with Donald Trump winning the presidential election.
Wow, that's a big one. I bet everyone's trying to figure out what that means for the rest of the world.
Right. AP News and Al Jazeera are both focusing on potential global impacts.
Makes sense. So what's Trump's first move?
Well, AP News is highlighting some of his cabinet picks, especially Marco Rubio as Secretary of State.
Rubio, huh? I guess that means Latin America might be a big focus for them.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. And then there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as U.S. Health Secretary.
Now that's an interesting choice.
It's definitely raising some eyebrows given his views on vaccines and the FDA.
I can imagine that's going to be a controversial one for sure.
Meanwhile, Iran is trying to set up a meeting with Elon Musk, according to AP News.
Elon Musk, what's that about?
It seems like they see him as a potential way to connect with the Trump administration.
That's a unique approach to diplomacy.
It really is. Okay, let's shift gears to the Middle East. Al Jazeera is reporting some concerning news about escalating tensions between Israel and Lebanon.
Oh no, what's happening there?
Israeli airstrikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs, and things are getting pretty volatile.
That's worrying. It's a region with a lot of history and conflict.
Absolutely. Are there any talks of de-escalation?
Well, Al Jazeera mentions some efforts for a ceasefire, maybe with the U.S. stepping in as a mediator.
Hopefully that works out.
But it's still tense. The WHO even condemned the killing of some Lebanese paramedics.
Oh gosh, it's a reminder that these conflicts have real human consequences.
Absolutely. Sadly, there's more tragic news. Al Jazeera also reported a fire in a hospital in northern India.
Oh no, what happened?
10 newborn babies died.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
It really is. Such a tragedy.
All right, let's end on a bit of a lighter note. Al Jazeera also reported that the leftist party in Sri Lanka won a supermajority in their parliamentary elections.
Oh, wow. A supermajority. That's a big win.
It is definitely a potential shift in the political landscape there.
We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what changes they make.
It's a lot to process, that's for sure. From elections to conflicts to economic ups and downs, the world never stands still.
It really doesn't. And it's all connected in one way or another. What happens in one corner of the world can ripple out and affect us all.
That's so true. So, out of all the stories we've covered today, what would you say is the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think the overarching theme here is, responsibility. It's our responsibility to stay informed, to critically evaluate the information that's thrown at us, and to engage in meaningful conversations about the issues that matter.
I love that. It's not enough to just passively consume the news. We need to think critically, question assumptions, and be willing to challenge our own perspectives.
Exactly. And that's especially crucial in a world where misinformation spreads so easily.
Absolutely. It can be tough to sift through all the noise and figure out what's real and what's not.
It can. But it's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of information.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there a final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I'd encourage everyone to think about how these global events might impact their own lives, even if they seem far away. The world is becoming increasingly interconnected. The decisions made by leaders in other countries, the economic trends that shape global markets, and the technological advancements that change the way we live all have ripple effects that reach us here at home.
That's a powerful reminder. We're all part of this global community, whether we realize it or not.
We are, and we all have a role to play in shaping the future we want to see. So stay curious, keep learning, and use your voice to make a difference.
And of course, if you're looking for a reliable source of insightful news and analysis, be sure to subscribe to Foresight News TV on YouTube.
Absolutely, they do fantastic work.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the news. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.